but we do need to mention Nelly Korda, world number one, who just ripped off her 4th consecutive victory on the LPGA. Unlike the other 3, this was actually a match play tournament, a tournament at Shadow Creek, in which she did not start well, and yet she got through the cut and then ripped through the match play bracket as well, beating European Solheim Cup stalwart Leona Maguire in the process. The first player since Lorena Ochoa in 2008 to win 4 consecutive tournaments, and the first American since Nancy Lopez in 1978 to win 4 consecutive tournaments. Rex, will the golf world stand up and take notice of Nelly Korda ripping off 4 in a row as we enter the first major championship of the year, the Chevron Championship, the week after the Masters?
Before you even got there, I'd already pulled up, like I'm reading the story on the LPGA's website, just because I was curious. Like it is amazing that we're at this inflection point right now in sports. Like you and I both sat up last night, or sat up this afternoon, and watched the NCAA tournament finish up. Iowa lost to South Carolina. I think, like a lot of people, we were captivated by the entire tournament. And I think you could say the same thing about women's soccer and across the board. I think women's sports have become much more captivating than they ever been, even more so than men's sports. And again, this goes to, I would argue that what we saw today between Iowa and South Carolina is probably going to be more entertaining. It's going to be more riveting. It's going to resonate with fans much more than what we'll probably see Monday night with the men's finals. Not saying that's right or wrong. That just seems the way we're tracking right now. I'm curious why this hasn't taken on a foothold. Because you're right, this is historic what she's doing, and she doesn't seem to have any interest in slowing down. I will be fascinated in the next coming weeks to find out, because I think they have a major in 2 weeks in Houston. Like, can she continue this pace? This is a Tiger-esque pace. And if that happens, will we see the same sort of boost, let's call it, that we've seen in other women's sports that suddenly elevate this not just to a new level, but does it elevate it beyond the men's game? And when we consider where the men's game is right now, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, the idea that there is fan fatigue, that people don't want to hear about how much purses are, how much guys are getting guaranteed. They don't want to hear about equity shares. They don't want to hear about deals. They want to see the best players playing against each other. I can imagine a scenario where 3 or 4 weeks from now, if she continues this historic pace, that the women's game starts to draw more attention than the men's game. And I don't think we've ever seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, the LPGA is desperate for a dominant player, and who better to be the dominant player on the LPGA than Nelly Korda, a 26-year-old American. She's tall, she's blonde, she's athletic, she hits it far. I mean, we were always longing for a player like Lexi Thompson to kind of take that mantle and be kind of the charismatic player who would bring fans in droves, and everyone wanted to see her, who's just this decorated champion. That has not come to fruition. Lexi Thompson has not won the LPGA in nearly 5 years. Nelly Korda is becoming that player right before our eyes. Well, this has not happened in 17 years. It has not happened for an American since 1978. It's phenomenal. I think if this was a different time of year, Rex, I think more people will be paying attention to what Nelly Korda has done. I don't think the LPGA schedule has done her any favors. Like, Nelly Korda took off 7 weeks from the first event that she played in 2024, went on vacation, and now she's ripped off 3 in a row before finally getting a break before the year's first major. If this was during the summer, if this was during the fall, perhaps where attention wasn't so divided between either the Masters or March Madness, I think this would take a stronger foothold. But I think the Chevron Championship just ratcheted up in importance even more, because I think fans are now curious to see, what do we have going on here?
Yeah.
Is this going to be an Annika Sorenstam type season where she wins 8, 9, 10 times on the LPGA, or is this just a hot streak by a very talented American player? I think everyone's hoping it's the former.
Well, and look, man, full disclosure, you and I cover the men's game, and so sometimes we are guilty of being myopic and not paying attention to any other parts of the game, whether that's amateur golf or the LPGA, whatever the case may be. In this particular case, I'll go back, and you mentioned Annika. That's probably a good comp. The one that immediately came to mind for me was Inbee Park, when she was going essentially for the Grand Slam, and she was doing it I'm not mistaken, at St. Andrews, right? At the Women's Open Championship. And I remember talking to our colleague, Doug Ferguson from the AP. And look, Doug's schedule is very much like yours and mine. Like, he covers men's golf primarily. And he hit those majors, and those big events are where he was going to go. And I remember him telling me, like, I've got to change my schedule. I have to be there for this. Like, this is a historic moment. I can imagine something very, very similar. And to your point, and not to be, again, myopic or jingoistic or whatever the case may be, but you're right. This is an American. She's tall. She's easy to watch on TV. All the things you could sit here and say, like, this could possibly resonate if she continues this run.
Can't believe Inby Park. I can't believe that was in 2013, where Inby Park won the first 3 major championships of the year.
Curious,
yeah, boy, God, that seems just a couple years ago. Apparently, it was not. Rex, this is the eve of Masters Week. I've been here since Friday, covering the Augusta National Women's Amateur. As always, a phenomenal tournament. Congrats to Lottie Wode, or as our friend Mark Schleybaugh, the Bulldog of ESPN, called her.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Waddy Mode.
Oh, no.
She is the latest winner of the Augusta National Women's Amateur. A great finish, too. Birdie to get the title.